hi everyone. My name is Jessica Suniga. I am the admissions advisor for the Pharm.D program. Um, we have today Ms. Veronica Pena. She's our director of admissions and recruiting. And then, like I mentioned, you guys are so lucky today because we get to hear from two of our amazing P1 students. And by P1 is our pharmacy students year one. So you'll hear that throughout the presentation. And we do have Ms. Emily Graper, right? How are you doing today?
I'm good.
Ms. Graper, if you could go ahead and get us started, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Um, if you are from the Houston area, where you did your undergraduate career, why you chose UHCOP, and then whatever else you would like to share before we get started.
I'm from Southeast Houston. And then for my undergraduate, I went to school in Missouri. And then I didn't claim a bachelor's degree. I just transferred straight into University of Houston COP once I got accepted. And the primary reason I chose U of H was because it was kind of local, but also their rankings in terms of other pharmacy schools. So I just thought it would provide the best opportunity for me to accomplish what I want out of the pharmacy career.
Okay, awesome. And then I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I caught it. I'm trying to also work on Catherine. You said you completed your bachelor's degree or
I did
just
not
the
complete it.
prereqs? The prereqs. Okay, awesome. Yeah, we get a lot of students, so we also get that question a lot about who completes their bachelor's and who works on just the prerequisites. So it's about like 50%. So you'll hear that amongst a lot of P1s that they did the prereq. Some of them did complete their degree. I do see somebody has their hand raised. Did you have a question? You can drop it in the Q&A chat box. Or you're just saying good morning, hi. Also, throughout the session, we'll be discussing what the P1 year typically looks like. So you'll hear from both Emily and Miss Catherine about their experience. They just finished their first semester, so last year we actually did a webinar where we heard from P1s, P2s, and P3s, and everybody did enjoy it, but a lot of people were like, we want to hear more about just the P1 year because it's a little bit more nerve-wracking when you're first transitioning into pharmacy. So that's what we have today. So we'll be hearing about their firsthand experience. Um, if you have any questions throughout the session, there is a chat box. Feel free to drop in any comments on there. But there's also a Q&A chat box, which we'll look at towards the end of today's presentation and address all of the questions. So at any point, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them on there. And let's go ahead and get started. So first, we'll talk a little bit about what not necessarily what the curriculum looks like, but more like the schedule itself. So, Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can expect to be here like Monday through Thursday, right? Like, are you here from 8 to 5?
Yeah, so it is Monday through Thursday, and then primarily classes are 9 to about 4:30, and then it kind of can vary from day to day, just depending on how they set up the schedule for you. But overall, that's what to expect.
Okay. And let's get started with what your morning routine looks like. So, before you even get to school, are you living on campus or are you commuting?
I commute.
You commute. Okay. So, tell me what your morning routine looks like.
Because I live kind of far away from campus, I usually try to leave 2 hours before class, just given that Houston traffic can be a little unpredictable. Um, but so yeah, I have a very simple morning routine though. I just wake up and get ready.
Yeah, I know some students, they'll say like they wake up really, really early and they have like a whole morning routine set up. And then others are like, I'm just waking up and I'm getting to school. So I guess that's you, Miss Emily, but you get to school. So that's the whole point. So that's good. Um, and then just keeping on with like the morning itself. So you have morning classes and there's a break, and then you have your afternoon classes, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about like your morning classes, some of the ones that you had last semester, what they look like, what you enjoyed during those classes.
For our morning classes last semester, it was mostly like kind of more introduction to the pharmacy field. We had like communications based classes as well as like intro to the healthcare field. And then our afternoons would be your more science didactic courses. Versus this semester is a more science based heavy semester for us.
Miss Veronica, you look different. Kidding. Hi, Catherine. Are you able to hear us?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So, hi, Catherine. So, everyone, this is Miss Catherine. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this one here. So, thank you so much for joining us. Sorry if you were experiencing any issues, but thank you for taking time out of today to join us. Emily already introduced herself to our attendees today. So, if you could just take a couple of moments to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, but also why you chose UH College of Pharmacy, where you did your undergraduate career. Did you get your bachelor's? Did you do the prereqs? Just what do you like to share with the students today?
Yeah. Hello everyone. My name is Catherine, or you can call me Khan. It's my own name. And I finished my bachelor's degree from Texas A&M. I actually did animal science as my major, and I chose UHCLP because I love pharmacy. I originally was going to go to pharmacy school. I mean, pharmacy degree, but then because of the COVID and stuff, so then I have to backtrack to like animal science. And University of Houston specifically is because it's closer to my house.
Thank you. And we were getting started with like our morning routine. So before you come to school, Catherine, tell us like, do you commute? Do you live here on campus? And do you have a morning routine, or do you like Emily just roll out of bed and get to school?
Uh, I actually live in an apartment like 10 minutes away from school, and I wake up like very close to the time I need to go to school though. It's not like I lay on bed, but it's the same way. It's the same way I set my alarm very close to like the time. And sometimes if I like sleep early, then I wake up early and then I exercise in the morning before going to school. So it's kind of like getting myself ready and like be awake for class.
Yeah, that's good. Do any of you two drink coffee? Like, have you ever been to Cougar Grant, which for those of you that don't know is like on the second floor. The College of Pharmacy is on the third floor. So if you're a coffee lover, it's like right downstairs. So do you guys go there?
I
No.
do frequently visit.
Yeah, I try not to, but it's really good coffee. So if you're a coffee fan, they also have tea and they also have breakfast. So if you don't have time to get breakfast, typically you guys have like 10-minute breaks in between classes. So just go downstairs, get yourself some breakfast, some coffee. Um, and then Catherine, Emily was telling us about like their morning classes and if she has any favorites. Do you have any favorite classes in the morning or any classes that you typically enjoy?
In the morning, typically for last semester, they were all like easy classes. So I actually enjoy easy classes who doesn't. But for this semester, I would have to say like immunology is my favorite one.
Yeah, that one does sound really interesting. And then let's move on from your typical morning into lunch break. And then for today's prospective students, so lunch break is kind of similar to like, when you were in high school and you're in class and then it's like everyone go to lunch break. So that's what it looks like here, like the College of Pharmacy or like for pharmacy schools. So what time do you guys typically go to lunch? Like 12, right?
Yeah, so they have a reserved, there's like no classes from 12 to 1:30.
Okay, so you get about an hour and a half. And then, well, you guys are here with us today, so thank you. I know, Emily, you're kind of like snacking.
Yeah.
So this is their lunch break. So also for those of you that are joining us, if you guys are hungry, I hope you're also getting something in. But aside from just eating, what else do you typically do during your lunch break?
I'm a member of a few student orgs, so we have a time to break lunch. They can have up to two organizational meetings in that time period. They haven't started yet. They usually the first 2 weeks of the semester are kind of reserved for you getting used to being back on campus. But that's typically what I do during lunch, or I study if I don't have a meeting for the clubs that I'm a part of.
What organizations are you a part of?
I do a health system pharmacy, a clinical pharmacy, and then I'm part of an industry club just to kind of explore some other areas that maybe I wasn't aware of, as well as like progress and get more comfortable with the ones that I do know I wouldn't do.
Awesome. Yeah. So we do have over 20 organizations within the college. So you'll hear from a lot of students that they're part of student orgs. And like Emily was saying, they typically meet during lunch breaks. Sometimes they bring lunch, so it's free food. Um, What about you, Catherine? What do you do during a lunch break?
I'm not a part of any orgs this semester or last semester, I mean. And then I usually use my lunch time to study. Like I go to the library and then study myself.
Do you go to the library on campus or the one that's here, the health sciences library?
Oh, the health science library.
Okay, so I actually just walked through there. So we do have a health science library also on the second floor. So that's open to pharmacy students, but also any health science students as well. Is it typically busy in there, Catherine?
But it's not that busy, especially like at the back of the library where you have like the silent, the quiet room, and then it's like no one talks in there.
Oh, that's good. We also do have quiet spaces here and on the third floor. So if you need like a quiet little cubicle, but it's just like kind of like boxed in. So if you would rather be at the library, that also works. Emily, since you're part of different orgs, do you know if they require an admissions fee? Or like I know some orgs have like dues. I don't know if that also applies to orgs in the college.
Yes, so anyone is welcome to be a part, to go to meetings. And then if you want to like claim it on your resume or CV, or there sometimes some will have like exclusive things only for their members, then there is a membership fee for the club.
Okay, awesome. So also for Chanel, that's a really good question. Yeah, you can join, I guess, some of the meetings before committing as a member. So those are going to be open for everyone. So you're able to join it. Also, I know I think your first year you're limited to only holding one leadership position, but you can join as many orgs as you want. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's, something that you can look into. I've also heard from some students that are not part of the orgs, but they join some meetings if they bring in like special speakers, if it's any of those like open events. So those are good opportunities for you guys once you're exploring those different organizations.
Yeah, that's actually what I do because I don't want to commit into anything before like I can balance my work life and school. So then I just join whenever I want to. And last time I volunteered for IPHO and AMCP for the roundtable event, and I was able to like talk to different people, building networks and whatnot.
Okay, awesome. So then you're able to kind of do that without having to be part of the org. So that also works. But also, like I mentioned, sometimes they have lunch. So I have heard from some students that they go and they get free lunch. So I don't know if it sounds like it's free, but you can also do that. Also, so we do have a break room for students. So Emily or Catherine, do you usually bring your own lunch or do you buy food?
I typically only bring my lunch. So I do use the break room very often because they have, I don't know, if any of y'all have visited our campus before, but we have like to brag that we have a whole wall full of microwaves and three
Yeah.
refrigerators. So there's lots of room for everybody.
Yeah,
So
I
if
bring my
anybody,
lunch too.
you bring your lunch too, do you use
Yeah.
the break room as well?
I don't put my stuff there mainly because like whenever we're hungry in class, we can just grab the food. And but I've seen my friends using it and I've been in there and actually tried once. It's actually very cool. It's like normal
Yeah.
microwave, but it's actually a lot. Like there are a lot of them.
Yeah, I think I want to say it's 21, but for any of you that are interested in touring the college, you can just register for a building tour in person at any of the times. So you can see our wall of microwaves. But like we mentioned, we all students break for lunch around the same time. So we don't want you to wait in line if you're trying to heat up your food, which is why there's a lot of microwaves. And I've never seen a line for the microwaves or anything, or even the fridges. They're not full. So then you have a lot of spaces to bring your own lunch if you like typically would rather save the money and bring your lunch, or you just like to bring your own lunch instead of buying food. So that's definitely an option, and that's just a student break room. So it's just for students. Um, and I had a question about lunch break. Like, do you guys ever like leave campus while like for lunch break?
I don't because I hate traffic. So it's not, I don't like driving around if I don't have to.
Yeah. What about you, Catherine?
The same, because finding a parking space in the garage is like a pain. So I don't want to do it. Whenever I have the parking spot, I just leave my car there for the whole day until I'm out of school.
Yeah, and I feel like that's pretty smart, especially because for pharmacy students that you're going to be here most of the day, so you don't want to lose your spot and then either have to drive around finding a parking spot or like find one that's like a lot further. Our building is held to building and is right across from like a student parking garage. And I think there's also a lot. So they're not really far. You don't have to walk around a lot if you don't want to. We're also really close to the student center. So you don't have to leave campus during lunch break if you choose not to. You can just do everything that you need to here. You can buy food. What do they have? They have like Chick-fil-A, Panda, and other things. But those are the only two that I go to. So and then before we move on to like afternoon, for your morning classes, I had a question, that was off of one of these, but I already forgot, but we'll go back to it. But for your afternoon classes, like after your lunch break, you said that you go back to class at 1:30. So what classes do you have in the afternoon, or at least what classes did you have last semester?
Last semester afternoon was predominantly our science courses, so we had physical, biochemistry. So into I don't remember at the moment.
Would you, Catherine, would you say that you prefer like your morning classes or your afternoon classes?
Myself, I prefer morning classes, but in terms of like my favorite classes, they in the afternoon. So like biochem and physio, they're in the afternoons. I have to prepare myself to be awakened and then study those classes.
What about you, Emily? Same thing, or are you more of like your afternoon classes are better?
It kind of depends, because sometimes like the afternoon classes, they're more difficult, so they require a higher degree of like, attention, especially after the lunch break and things. So it was touch and go.
Okay. And then actually the question that I had earlier was not even a morning question, it was a lunch question, and it was a question from one of our attendees. So Faith, that was a good question. So they want to know if we have a tutoring center for pharmacy students. So I know we have peer tutoring. Have any of you been to peer tutoring?
I've been there before, and it was there for our first calculation test, and they were very helpful.
Yeah, so then for those of you that are here joining the webinar, so we do have peer tutoring available, and it's available during your lunch break. So if you want to, kind of touch on different subjects that you are not too sure about, you can join peer tutoring. They typically have it during lunch break. I think they also had it after school last semester, so you are able to join it. And then you just have upperclassmen teach you, and answer any questions that you may have. But then also you have access to your faculty members. They have an open door policy, so you're able to visit with them at any point. And again, for those of you that joined a little bit later, if you have any questions throughout the session for Ms. Emily or Ms. Catherine, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A chat box or just a regular chat box. I'll continue to monitor that as we go. Okay, so after school, do you guys stay on campus? Do you go home? What do you do after class?
Usually I stay after campus until traffic dies down and just study.
Typically, what time would you say that is?
Usually I stay till about 6:30 or 7.
Okay. I feel like there's still traffic at that time, but it's not as bad as like 5 p.m. traffic here in Houston. What about you, Catherine?
Usually I would go home and like start doing my own thing. But last semester specifically, like during the biochem exam, I had to stay after to like have tutor with the faculty. So then I stayed until like 7 or 8, and I yeah just take advantage of like the open door policy, like you said before.
Awesome. And when you met with them like after class, did you reach out to them like beforehand? Like, you just have to schedule an appointment, or did you just kind of like stop by? Like, how does that work?
During that week, the professor
Mhm.
actually had an open door policy for like a certain time. And even if you're there before and it's past their time limit, they would not be like, oh, I need to go, you need to
Okay.
get out and stuff like that. They try to like help you all the way through until you understand. But typically, I'm the one that has to like randomly pop in, but that's really like based on luck, and I wouldn't recommend that because most of the time they have meetings and they need their own time too. So that's if you can make an appointment with them.
Okay, so just keep that in mind if they're there, if you need to drop in, but kind of if you're able to beforehand schedule an appointment with them. But either option works. Um, do you guys work either full-time or part-time this year?
I don't work.
I worked last semester. I worked once a week, and um, but with that being said, I worked as a pharmacy technician. But I also worked with a company that I've been working out 3 years, so they kind of understood when I made the transition for becoming an intern.
Okay. Would you say that it was hard to juggle your like having to study for school and then working? I know you mentioned it was like once a week, but was it still like a little bit tough?
There's definitely certain weeks where things it feels like harder to do work just because you like want to be studying, want to be dedicating your time. But if you have a good schedule already established for your time management, then it's definitely doable.
Okay. Awesome. And now, so we kind of talked about like, your typical Monday to Thursday. I know Fridays are completely different. I've seen your schedule and I think you're here like some Fridays you're not. You also have co-curriculars. So can you tell us a little bit about like some of the co-curriculars, kind of what it is? And then also when you don't have that, what do you do on Fridays?
Yeah, so Fridays will either be exams or the co-curriculars. And co-curriculars are events or like trainings that the university sets up for us to help like get us more prepared for experientials over the summers, as well as like certain requirements by the state in order for us to complete the Pharm.D. Um, and then when I'm not on campus on Fridays, I typically, just because it's like still a weekday, I just reserve it for studying and getting schoolwork.
What about you, Catherine?
Sometimes on Friday we have like class meetings and but if there's no activity on Friday, I would typically just stay home, take a longer nap and then most of the time would be studying as well.
Okay, so are either of you two interested in research? Like, have you explored any research opportunities so far?
Yes, I have reached out to the faculty.
Yeah, so is that how that works? Like, if you're interested in research as a P1, do you have to reach out to faculty?
Uh, there's actually an organization that is like linked to different faculties where you can sign up to do research with them. That's what I heard from my friends. And for me, I just reach out to like yeah the faculty that I'm interested in working with. If they say that oh we're full and you can join the other one, then you have to reach out to the other one. But my goal is to like having a PhD as well, so that's why I'm kind of like having to do a different track for that.
Okay. Yeah, so if you're interested in research, you can definitely explore it throughout your like P1 to P3 years, maybe even P4 if they have like any electives that are also research based. But then if you are more leaning towards research, like towards the end of your pharmacy career, you can definitely do a PhD. I know a lot of students are interested in that, so that's an option for you as well. And you can learn more information like throughout the curriculum, so you don't have to like come in and be like, I'm definitely going to do research. It's something that you can explore as you go. And then for Miss Emily, I know that you mentioned you have your farm tech license, but you know you are also getting an internship license. So um, we have a question from Chanel. So do you recommend keeping your farm tech license even if we are or they're eventually going to obtain a farm intern license?
That's also like so I'm nationally certified on top of my state registration. Um, with that being said, so you get your intern license your first semester of pharmacy school, but the way in that how you're categorized with the state is that not all um, workplaces can take interns. There has to be the pharmacist has to have a special certification in order to like work with an intern. So if you keep your tech license up to date, then they can sign you on as a tech, and then you have like intern responsibilities. But in order for them to like have you, you have to meet their recommendations.
Okay. Thank you for answering that. Did you have anything to add to that, Miss Catherine?
Yes, actually, I actually just talked about that topic with another faculty yesterday, and it turned out that because I'm planning to take do the farm take license as well during the summer, but I already have the intern license, so I asked the faculty if I should take the tech license, and then that he said that since I have the intern and if the pharmacist has like the preceptor license, then he can just take me as an intern and they value it more. And our year right now is like the first year that we can work as an intern for the first time. And so if that's the case, then we can talk to like Dr. Lin or like someone that they can write like recommendation letter from the school and it just sent to the preceptor.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And then Dr. Wen is actually our assistant dean, so you can meet with her at any point throughout your pharmacy career. So within my department is student services, you'll find a lot of resources, including advisors as well. So we have like student success advisors, Ms. Escobar and Ms. Owen. So I know you have to meet with them. I think before you started pharmacy school or like your first week, you met with them. How was that experience? Like, what did they provide? If it's something that you're able to share, like I know they provide some sort of like guidance.
Yeah, so the student success advisors, we had to meet with them over the summer, and then you're also supposed to meet with them twice a semester. They're really there to help like talk to you about your goals as well as establish certain study topic tactics and things that you're like trying to work on being better at in the like within the program. They're really just there to kind of help with your emotional and academic support.
Yeah, I have to agree with that too. And especially whenever we meet with our advisor, what they do is they ask, oh, what classes are you struggling with? And that's how they come up with like the tutoring services and also like making sure that the faculties are aware of and they can change like a teaching plan to make sure that the next year is not gonna encountering the same problem.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And Miss Owens and Miss Escobar, they're really great. They also host workshops throughout the semester, typically during the lunch break hours. I know I attended one 'cause I just wanted to see like who was there and what content they were sharing. So they had one for like testing anxiety, time management. So they just have different things. So you don't have to join them, but if it's something that you think you might be interested in, you would benefit from learning about, you can join it during your lunch break. They oftentimes have like snacks for you guys, so then you're able to eat your snack and then also learn and form better habits as you study. And then just outside from just schools, for school and work, what do you do for self-care and like manage your time? Like what do you do to make sure that you're not burning yourself out?
I like to run and work out. So that's mostly what I do. I have dogs. A little furry friend every day.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if it was just me, but it kind of cut off. So you said that you like to run, and then what was the last part?
That like I have my dog, so
Okay,
I
that's what I thought I heard, but I was like, let me just double check. That's so cute. What about you, Catherine?
For self-care, like workout as well. I don't have a dog, so I can't really do anything with that. And sometimes I would reward myself like after a test or something, just watch a one episode of a movie. Like it's very easy to like lose track of like controlling self or not like what binge watch the whole thing. And another thing is that I spend time with families and also catching up with some friends like after a few months of not contacting with them. It's a like rewarding feeling.
Okay, that's good that you are kind of again touching base with your family and friends. Don't forget about them. I know sometimes it's a little bit tough as you're going through like the Pharm.D curriculum and you're like transitioning from undergrad to professional program. I know it's like a little bit harder to make time, but definitely try to make as much time as you can for your loved ones, and for yourself as well. But since I mentioned that, what do you guys think was like the hardest thing from like the transition from undergraduate courses to pharmacy courses?
I would say mostly it's the pace. when you're an undergraduate, you have like 3 or 4 classes total. And then like if it's 3 credit class, then you're at school for 3 hours. That definitely changes once you get to pharmacy school. Like last semester, I think we were in 17 hours, but we were at school for like 30 or 40 hours a week. So you definitely have to improve time management and really like get on top of making sure that you're staying with it. So I think for me, that was the biggest adjustment was like really allotting time to be on campus.
Yeah, I have to agree with that as well, especially whenever it comes to like the final or like the exams, we actually have to start studying at least 2 weeks before the exam, not like a day before or the night before. It's not gonna work.
Yeah, I do hear that a lot. So it's if you don't have any like study habits in place as an undergrad, you're definitely going to work on that throughout your pharmacy career because you can't just cram it at the very end. So we'll have Ms. Escobar and Ms. Owens there to kind of guide you through that. So feel free to, at any point to reach out to them for those. And we'll start kind of guiding or navigating more towards the Q&A session. I know I've been asking them questions, some of them your questions, some of them my questions. But go ahead and drop all of your questions and I'll start reading through those now. So for our next question, where did they go? Here they are. So let's see. Are there any student health services for students such as counseling, health clinic, or recreational center?
Yes, there are. It's actually right downstairs. I've been there so many times, not for like anything serious, just for checkups and sometimes like minor illnesses. Like it's very convenient and they actually always available and the service is actually very good.
Thank you. What about you, Emily? Have you used any of their services?
I haven't used any of the services, but I know that they're available.
Yeah, so we do have both counseling and the health clinic actually here in the Health 2 building. So you guys are going to be so lucky because you can just go downstairs for either of those services. And the rec center is also across the street, so it's a very short walking distance. So the campus is really big, but all of the resources that you really need are all going to be really close to you. So you don't really have to walk around a lot. I know like other students, if you're like, I think I'm like architecture major, they're like super far and you have to walk all the way here for these services, but you just have them all in the same building. So you can just go right down the stairs. So yeah, those are available to you. And let's see. Um, Other than recorded lectures, what additional resources have you seen from professors or like what they use so far? Like mini questions, Kahoot, things like that.
A lot of professors have questions embedded into their lectures, and then they use like a secondary software called Poll Everywhere in order to like have class participation. And some professors do it like as part of a participation grade, and some of it is just for your own.
Yeah, and for biochem specifically, the professor made like games and also like charts that we can fill in and whatnot. Like the games actually helped a lot. It's fun at the same time too, but you really have to pay attention. Like those questions in the game might show up on the exam.
Thank you. And for our next question, this is a really good question. So, do you recommend us to do anything to get ready before starting pharmacy school, like study ahead, like generic drugs and brand name?
You can. Um, I think that it's difficult to find things to study before because you don't really know what to expect. There is your first year, you are required to learn the top 200 drugs, and then it's like brand, generic, and other things. But if you just look up the top 200, it's probably going to be different than what they give to us. So that's kind of a catch-22 if you want to work ahead in that.
Yeah, I actually came here without any prior pharmacy knowledge or top 200 drugs. My pharmacist, the one I shadowed, he actually recommended me just enjoy the last summer before pharmacy school so that I'm ready, like there's no regrets looking back, and then I can have a refreshing self whenever I go to pharmacy school. And I actually would recommend that. If you want to, you can review if you took AP classes or like IB or like those advanced classes, you can re-looking at those materials because I definitely have to look again like those things whenever I'm in class.
Yeah, you both brought up some really good points. So, like Miss Emily said, you don't really know like what you're gonna be learning throughout the curriculum. So you don't want to study something that you might not use. But Kiri's, one of our attendees, did share something pretty cool. So there are some really good top 200 sets on Amazon. So if you are interested, do that. But like Catherine said, I would recommend that you enjoy the summer before starting pharmacy school if you're able to like take some time off, just because keep in mind that you are going to be attending school in the fall semester, the spring semester, and then doing a 6 week like rotation. They're like experientials throughout the summer. So it's like you don't really get that long summer break. So try to enjoy that. Um, and don't like try to cram everything that you will be needing you'll learn throughout the curriculum, and you'll have those resources to kind of like catch up on anything. But also like Catherine said about your like prerequisites and those courses that you had to take, those are kind of like building blocks for the Pharm.D curriculum. So if there's something that you like, let's say that you took calculus while you were in high school, kind of like go back and try to relearn some of the content, at least the basics, so that when you are starting, you kind of have like that, basic level knowledge without having to be like, I don't even remember what that means. Just that you can kind of get a refresher.
About the
Um,
top 200 drugs,
mhm.
they actually won't test you all 200 for the first quiz. They actually break it down into like 20 or like 30 per quiz.
Okay. Do they give it to you? Do they tell you like study these 20 and then they'll like test you on that?
Yes, they very
Okay.
clear on what they want.
All right, awesome. So then maybe you guys could just hold off on those top 200 because I think it'll be a little bit easier to know which ones to study for. Um, But let's see. We do have one question. This one I can answer. So the question is, did any students take prerequisite courses when they started their P1 year? So you're not able to do that. All of the prerequisites need to be completed before you start pharmacy school. So science and math courses need to be done the spring before pharmacy school. All of the core classes, those can be done during the summer. But yeah, you can't take them alongside your Pharm.D curriculum. And then, oh, aside from just like studying and your study habits during the summer before starting pharmacy school, is there anything else that you guys think it's important for our students to know as they prepare for pharmacy school?
I think the main point in pharmacy school is figuring out how you study and how you're going to take notes. Because if you don't start off with a good beginning, then everything else, like a domino effect, it's just gonna keep happening. Like there's no, I mean, you can catch up, but try not to play that game because it's very risky and you don't want to fail any of the classes and have to retake.
Thank you. Did you
I
have
just think,
something? Yeah.
yeah, with that, especially the summer before, aside from like being excited to start pharmacy school and wanting to like get ahead, also like find what like calms you down, or like things that are like just easy, like, oh, I can do this. Because yes, while school is very important, it's definitely high stress. Um, so if, like you don't have like something that you do that like brings you like happiness, then maybe like find something.
That's some really good advice. Thank you. Um, so for our next question, do students form study groups and chats to help each other study and share resources?
I think it's kind of on you if you want to find a study group. There might have been something in the beginning of the year about like find a study group. But I just kind of found people that I got along with and that I knew I studied similarly to. And then we kind of just formed our own study group, shared notes with each other.
Yeah, there are some of us would prefer studying alone, and then once we understand like the big picture, and then we can come together as this group to kind of like catching up with the little details that we might miss, or we think like, hey, is this important? Or I don't understand this. Can you explain this? Because sometimes we understand the big pictures, but then when it comes to the little details, we're like, I'm not sure about that. I don't remember where I saw it, so let me review it. So it's kind of like a, I would say it helped with studying, but a lot of people just start straight up with the group study. Not all of them worked out well. And when that happened on the first test, and now they're like, oh my goodness, what I need to do. And then they keep changing their study habit, and none of them work because each class, the professors are different and they have different teaching style and how they do the exam, like word the exam. So you might do well on one of the exam with your study habit, but the next one won't be the same way. So you have to like being adapted and whatnot.
Yeah, and I've actually heard that from a couple of students, especially after like exam day. And I'm like, how'd it go? And I think when you're studying, it's important to kind of have like a study habit set in place, but also being adaptable where it's like what worked with for one class is not going to work for all of the classes. So then just keep that in mind. We also do have group study rooms and I always see them being used. So there's definitely study groups, but like Emily said, you might have to find that group that works for you. At the beginning, before you start pharmacy school, we do form like a Facebook group and Instagram and a group me, I believe, so that you're able to connect with your peers. So even beforehand, you can start making those connections and use those chats to connect with them, and then maybe find your study group through there. And then I know you guys had like your application process a while back, but hopefully you remember. So when you were working on your application, did you start really early on working on your volunteer hours, or when did you work throughout your college career on that, or did you do it like right before applying?
For me personally, I had started on my volunteer hours really early. Because even when first started my undergrad, I was thinking about doing medical school, and for that, you have to have an exorbitant amount of hours of volunteer. So then by the time when I had switched to doing pharmacy, I had already accumulated all the hours I needed. But I know some of my peers got it like right before applications closed, so it's not apparent that you have to be like freshman year of college. I was starting.
Yeah, I started out very early as well because it's like if you join orgs in high school and then you used to like volunteering and whatnot, then it's like a habit of like keeping up during the 4 years of college. And it's not the volunteer doesn't have to be related to the healthcare like professional or anything. It can be like volunteering at your community or just like tutoring or something like that. It doesn't have to be like it has to be in hospital or like in a pharmacy setting.
And then since you mentioned that that's kind of like a habit for you and that's something that you like enjoy doing, do you still find the time to do it now, like throughout the pharmacy curriculum?
Yes, I actually just volunteer during the break. And sometimes if I have like a 3 day weekend and I'll just volunteer. It's actually like the one that I volunteer for is like an online tutoring. So I just tutor English for like immigrants who like doesn't have the way to afford like a real English class. So just helping them with that.
That's pretty cool. So for those of you that did have that question, you can continue like volunteering during the breaks. You don't have to do it like all the time if you are struggling to fit in time to do all the other things, but maybe when you have longer breaks, you can do some of that, especially typically like pharmacy students, they enjoy helping others. So I know you'll find some time to volunteer. Um, so I know that you found like your own study groups. Did you find those study groups like during the semester, like aside from just like connecting through like social media like Facebook, GroupMe, and Instagram, how did you find those groups to study with or connect with your classmates?
During the orientation week that you have the week before school starts, is really the biggest exposure to all of your classmates. Um, and with that, that's kind of when there's a lot of activities of like understanding how you study or like what works for you. And then from there, you can kind of branch off and find people that you're similar with. But in the end, I think the group that I study with the most now is actually people that I just met like in passing or through friends of friends, and then we connected on that level.
Yeah, I actually didn't meet a lot of people during orientation, mainly because I'm a little bit introvert and quite timid. So then I just met them along the way during the semester. But before going to pharmacy school, I understood that I'm the one like prefer studying alone. So the study group is not like the way I study mainly. So I just sometimes during class or after class, I just ask them a quick question and they'd be able to help me and stuff like that.
Okay, awesome. So then, oh, also one thing that I don't think we mentioned earlier, but you're gonna spend a lot of time with your classmates. Typically the lectures, it's like all of your classmates. So it's about we have 125 seats available. This class, so Miss Emily and Miss Catherine, I think is like 110 students in your class. So you'll be with the same people. I know some faculty members do give you assigned seating. So then if you do have assigned seating, you might form friends, like a friend group with the people that are around you. But if not, I've seen people that are like talking across to each other. So you'll find opportunities to definitely make some friends and find people to study with. Um, do you have an estimate of how many hours a week you study, like for each class? Or would you say it depends?
It definitely depends on the class for me. There's some classes that just come naturally, like communications or things that like for me isn't something that I really think I have to work on versus like other classes. For example, like biochem, physio, the upper level science, you definitely have to spend more time. I probably spend like an extra hour every day on each. It's very much depends on the week though.
Yeah, the same way with Emily, like the communication classes or intro to healthcare, stuff like that, those easy classes in the morning. It actually comes naturally, and the one that is like more difficult, like biochem or physio, I actually spend like 2 hours a day for each subject, trying to like reviewing the past lectures and also like have a skim through the next lecture as well.
Okay, thank you for answering. Did you guys connect with any P2s and P3s and were they helpful like as you continue with your courses? Like did they help you navigate some of those classes?
Yes. My mentor is actually a P2, and she's actually very helpful in helping me with like her notes in biochem or immunology for the semester and OTC. And sometimes they just there to cheer us up for like, hey, we passed an exam, that's what matters, and stuff like that.
Yeah, this actually over the summer, the orientation coordinators are a part of helping match a mentor-mentee program for all the P1s to P2s and some P3s. So if you're interested in finding like a program like that, it is offered, and then you would just sign up for it. For me personally, I didn't seek it out, and I don't know, it didn't hurt me at all. I have half the class has a mentor or mentee, all the information gets around.
Okay, awesome. And I know that you guys have just completed one semester, but so far, have you encountered any challenges within the program and how were they addressed?
I don't know if there's been a lot I mean, I think there's definitely, aside from academic, there's you spend a lot of time with your classmates. There are 108 and you're with everybody for a long time. So there like can be social run-ins, but usually it works out itself, or there's the advisors, caps, like there's always been something there to help address an issue.
Yeah, I think the challenges in pharmacy school would have to be academic, like stuff like that. And what really worked is try to reach out to the faculty, and they very friendly. They're not gonna be like judging you for asking questions. I honestly asked a lot of like questions that they told me that they've never thought a student would ask because no one asked them before. So they thought that everyone understood, but actually not. Like some of us don't. So it's normal. Just ask whenever you don't understand so that you don't fall behind because it builds up.
Okay, thank you both for sharing. And then we'll just get one more question out of the way so I can give you guys some time to get some food in you. But can you describe what it's like working in the collaborative lecture room? So I think like a room like 3001, 3007, where there's a lot of spaces for that group work. How do you use those spaces?
So most of the collaboration is engraved into the curriculum, but like every desk has microphones, and the teachers are very good about asking you for your like opinions. And if you have any questions, it's definitely a lot more interactive than undergraduate classrooms if you went to a big university.
Yeah, whenever we in that classroom, we actually have to teamwork, and it's actually like that's where I meet all of my people and able to work together until now, even if we're not in a group anymore. And I have to say that you might feel like you're not good at teamworking or you don't like to teamwork. You have to change your mind because I actually was one of those people, but now I changed my mind. I work very well.
And then actually I lied. There's one more question, just a quick one. So what are some like quick tips like to be productive or like for your study habit and to study effectively? Like if you had to summarize that really quick.
I think my biggest tip is to be adaptive and to not cram everything in at one time. Like we've stated quite a few times, is that things they're hard and that every teacher is going to do something differently. So you have to be kind of ready to change what you're working on and what you're doing in order to help get you through.
Yeah, not my tip would be identify the tough course for yourself and then study that first. Then you will have time if you don't understand and you have time to like ask faculty or the tutor.
Okay, awesome. So again, thank you so much both for joining today and taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm gonna go ahead and stay on for those of you that still had some more questions, but Miss Emily and Miss Catherine, feel free to log off. Again, thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, Okay, and then we still had a couple more questions. So for those of you that still have time to stay behind, you're more than welcome to do so, but also take a couple of moments to complete the survey. So we did have a question that I'm able to answer. So it's about the study rooms with whiteboards available for students, especially for those that might be visual learners. So yes, we do have whiteboards that you're able to move around the whole like third and fourth floors because we have some upstairs and then some on the third floor as well. So you're able to move them around depending on like where you're studying, but also within the study group rooms, there's like a very nice like acrylic board with the markers that you're able to use, but you can also move the whiteboards in there as well. Also, like somebody mentioned earlier about the collaborative rooms, there's also whiteboards in there for you to use as you're working on like different cases and working with your peers. So those are definitely available for you to use. Also, we do have smaller like that peer tutoring room. They have whiteboards as well so that you're able to like use them and like if you need to draw anything out as you are either explaining that to somebody else or explaining to them like what you're not understanding, you can use those spaces as well. Um, there was another question about the GPA before entering pharmacy school. So I do have that information available for the last admission cycle. So for students that applied for fall 2023 and were admitted, the GPA range for all prerequisite courses was from a 2.56 to a 4.0. So again, a very really wide range. And then the same thing for just the math and science courses, that was a 2.33 to a 4.0. And then again, that was for fall of 2023. And then for fall of 2022 is also very similar, 2.48 to a 4.0 for all courses. And then some of you might be wondering, like, why is that such a wide range? And it's because we do a holistic review. So your GPA is not necessarily going to determine whether you're admitted or not. Obviously, the higher the GPA that you have, the higher the chance that you have of being admitted. But if you do have a lower GPA, you just have to make sure that you are a more well-rounded applicant, that you have those really strong letters, hopefully that you have an upward grade trend and that you have some very strong recent semesters. There's some helpful things. Also, if you volunteered and did a little bit more than just the 25 hours, you can go ahead and put that on there to show that you are committed to helping the community. So those are some things that you can work on, but also if you want to kind of talk about your case, if you do have a lower GPA and you're concerned, we can schedule an advising appointment. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat, but you're more than welcome to schedule that for either in person or virtual, and we can discuss it. In the meantime, while I find the link, we can continue with some of our other questions. Is high school ranking important when we go to college? It is, well, not for pharmacy school. When you're applying for like your undergraduate courses to take the prerequisites, then yes, that is considered for admission purposes. But for the College of Pharmacy, no. The only thing that we're going to be looking at is your prerequisite courses. So your high school ranking will not be taken into consideration when being considered for pharmacy school. And then we also had another great question that I didn't have the time to ask, but I will send that information out once I send out the recording. So that question was, how many schools would you recommend that like you apply to? So I, as an advisor, do recommend that you do have at least a backup option. So apply to your first option, the College of Pharmacy at the University of Houston, and then also have a backup just in case, because you don't want to like put, people say like your eggs in one basket or whatnot. Um, but I can also ask both Emily and Catherine to see how many schools did they apply to and what their recommendation is. And then I'll also ask other P1s to see what their application process was like. Any other questions that we have that are related to like admissions or anything like that, feel free to drop them. I finally found the admission advising link, so I'm going to drop it in the chat. You can schedule again an appointment in person or virtual. I'll also be following up with an email for those of you that joined today, but also take the time to complete the survey. Again, we really do appreciate your feedback. Thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you all have one more question. Pre-matriculation checklist. Yes, there is one, and that is actually sent out by our Director of Admissions, Mr. Ely. So you should be getting that soon, just with the checklist of everything that you need to complete before starting pharmacy school. So don't worry, you'll get all the resources for onboarding. But thank you all so much. Have a good weekend, and I hope to see y'all all very soon.